I know what I wanted. I wanted this family. I wanted too much for my sister wives. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Please hit the subscribe button and give this episode a thumbs up. After the most recent episode of Season 19's Tell All, Sister Wives star Meri Brown is receiving criticism. In the one-on-one interviews, the 54-year-old has talked about how the family broke up when she made the decision to leave their faith. A lot of her fans supported her. However, some admirers believe Meri is returning to her former self. To find out why, continue reading. Meri Brown talks about her friendship with Robyn. In the most recent Tell All episode, Meri talked candidly about her friendship with Robyn. The Sister Wives star claims that she bears the burden of her suffering. This follows Robyn expressing sorrow over the demise of their relationship with Meri. Meri Brown went on to say that she has been attempting to accept responsibility for their relationship's demise. However, she had to let go after reaching her breaking point. Although Meri regrets it, she doesn't experience the same sense of icy friendship as Robyn had. Has Meri dropped to her lowest point ever? On social media, some Sister Wives fans talked about the reasons why Meri Brown might have reached her lowest point ever. The OP claims that Meri started to exhibit signs of not wanting to reveal Kody and Robyn just when she was finally gaining their affection. Rather, she appeared to take pleasure in remembering some of her final moments with Kody and even being referred to as his favorite ex-wife. The poster was also offended by Meri's criticism of Christine for bringing up Kody while she was sitting close to David Woolley. Others occurred, pointing out that Meri was never negatively criticized by Janelle or Christine. But it appears Meri is still adamant about believing Kody and Robyn. Although Christine has overshared information about Meri ought to have kept her opinions about Christine to herself. Although I don't believe any of these women are malevolent, I do believe that their behavior has changed somewhat. Considering how upset Meri was when Christine told her story about the ring melting, it's likely that she doesn't care what Christine thinks anymore. However, in order to please Kody, she was still prepared to criticize Christine. So she knows, however, that he said he never loved her, that she was challenging, violent, and self-centered, and that he wished she would just simply disappear. What does this woman need to see for the kingly jerk that he is? I absolutely concur with you. I wanted to applaud Meri's apparent confidence boost. She was almost there when Kody viciously exploited and mistreated her, and I hoped she would realize it. Sister Wives, did Kody manipulate Meri Brown? According to a different social media thread, Kody might have influenced Meri Brown prior to the Sister Wives Tell All. Some claim that Kody became friends with Meri prior to filming in order to prevent her from disparaging him, thereby forming an alliance against Janelle and Christine. It appears that Kody's strategy worked, but after validating their rumors, Meri herself declared that she would never speak poorly of Kody, and it appears that she is merely keeping her promise in the tell-all. In Part 4, Sister Wives Kody Brown has a secret lover. Kody Brown star Sister Wives has made some controversial remarks in the first 3 segments of Season 19's Tell All. Being spanked for liking Robyn makes him unhappy. However, he no longer denies that he treats her better than other people. However, Kody's shocking admission of having a secret lover is included in the recently published teasers for the upcoming Tell All Part 4 on TLC. To see the details, continue reading. Robyn Brown finally acknowledges her role as the favorite wife. And many people were taken aback by the Sister Wives Tell All. In the one-on-one interviews, the ex-wives discussed their biggest annoyance. Who gets the luggage rack? Since Kody utilized it for himself on family vacations, they interpret it as a representation of his selfishness. However, Robyn acknowledged that she had taken the luggage rack, saying she was unaware of its significance. According to some admirers, she is well aware of the implications for the family and is implying that she is now superior to everyone else. Kody, in Tell All Part 4, reveals his secret lover. The Sister Wives Tell All's impending Part 4 has been teased and described by TLC. The network claims that Kody Brown will discuss a secret he kept from his wives while in college. In the one-on-one interview, it's also anticipated that the discovery will heighten the tension because it made Christine wonder if Kody is concealing anything else from his family. According to the description, Kody's family may suffer long-term consequences as a result of his secrets. David Woolley, the husband of Christine Brown, will also be included in the episode, discussing his views on polygamy. Many people's perceptions of plural marriage may also be impacted by his remarks. Kody Brown has said it before. Sister wives, it's no secret that Kody's disclosure of one of his best-kept secrets will make Sister Wives Tell-All Part 4 even more intriguing. But a lot of people have pointed out that it was already covered earlier this year. I had a lover in college, Kody admitted on a January 5th show, revealing that he had lost his virginity during his time in college. A small tryst occurred. I was a mischievous boy because of my religion. Kody Brown even acknowledged that he found the recollection challenging because in their faith, virginity is everything. He was attempting to reintegrate as a result, which might have been the cause of his prolonged efforts to conceal his background from his family. However, he also disclosed that only Robyn and Meri were aware of it. He went on to say that he never had an intimate relationship with Janelle or Christine, which is why they were unaware. Few people are able to maintain their dignity when hearts break on public television. However, that storm has turned inward for Meri Brown, a long-standing representation of the numerous family that was once focused upon a guy whose name she almost ever questions. She opened Longlow's doors during the heated exchanges in the most recent Sister Wives confessional series, only to discover that several windows were still sealed. Meri discussed how family ties had deteriorated over time in her sit-down interview, which was set against the backdrop of the Tell-All special. Her remarks were full of introspection, and although her openness was praised by some who had previously questioned her quiet, it also sparked discussions among devoted followers about whether she had actually changed or had just reverted to her old habits. Her emotional connection to a woman who had long served as the emotional anchor for the group was the subject of the episode that spurred the most recent conversations. Robyn, who is frequently depicted as the more outspoken and profoundly wounded member of the group, expressed her sorrow over the breakup of her once-loved connection with Meri in a startling admission. Meri acknowledged that she felt partly to blame for their emotional lapse, but she also acknowledged that eventually she had to let go of the weight because it was too big, too draining, and no longer exclusively hers. Even so, she refrained from endorsing the resentment her ex-sister wife harbored. While outlining her justifications, Meri made it apparent that she didn't feel the same coldness between them. Despite Robyn's assertion that their relationship had cooled, the statement sounded almost scientific, distant, as though the scar was still there, but the wound was no longer bleeding. But this distance hasn't protected her from further criticism. Online discussions started as soon as the Tell-All episode aired. After being praised for finally escaping emotional manipulation, some fans are now wondering if Meri is reverting to the harmful old patterns that formerly bound her to the emotional turmoil that characterized her multiple marriages. Her actions during the special were among the topics that were debated the most. Meri was worried, as others, especially Christine, who has rarely kept quiet about the challenges she encountered in the family, talked candidly about their complaints. Her behavior gave the impression that she was unwilling to face the unpleasant truth about her previous relationships, particularly with the patriarch of the family. She appeared to straddle the line between honesty and protection. Rather than joining the other ladies who had opted for truth, when she responded to Christine's remarks about the man at the heart of their shared past, this delicate balancing act was most apparent. Christine had brought out a number of things about her past relationship while sitting next to her new boyfriend. Meri came out as defensive rather than sympathetic, even going so far as to quietly chastise Christine for bringing up those issues so publicly. Viewers were moved by this moment and believed Meri had lost the chance to express solidarity instead of cynicism. It was a quick response. The show's devoted fans vented their dissatisfaction on forums and social media. Her silence regarding prior abuse sparked outrage, while others expressed shock that she continued to appear faithful to someone who once publicly rejected her as a burden. She has heard the worst things about her from the man she once married, and yet she still hesitates to speak the truth, one voice observed. I had so much hope for Meri, thought another commenter. I believed that she had at last found her footing, but she seems to be lost once more. At this point, holding on to the same old stories that initially wounded her. The idea that Meri had crossed the line of self-respect just to return via the same door she had just left appears to be the source of this sadness. Her prior decision to leave the church they had previously attended was viewed as a daring act, a declaration of independence and a new era. However, some people wonder how far she's really come because of her persistent reluctance to openly address the behavior of other family members, particularly with the patriarch. Talk candidly about the emotional and spiritual costs of her past relationship. The increasing hypothesis that she might have been emotionally influenced before shooting adds another level of contention. Some speculate that the family patriarch may have contacted Meri to try to lessen any possible harm to his reputation after noticing the criticism that was about to be directed at him. This late-stage friendship may have been a calculated move to soften her voice before the cameras began to roll. According to the hypothesis, regardless of the validity of this argument, Meri continues to be one of the more nuanced characters in the family's developing story. She has never been the most outspoken or overtly disobedient. Her path has been characterized by internal struggle, emotional control, and silent, frequently undetected moments of disobedience. But the issue still stands. How long can she continue to strike a balance between blind commitment and self-preservation? Her suffering resonates with many viewers. Breaking free from years of emotional attachment is rarely a straightforward task, particularly in a system as complex as a multiple family. It takes time to heal. Mistakes and brief retreats into old behaviors might occasionally be a part of that healing process. Others counter that those mistakes eventually turn into decisions. Additionally, many who earlier supported Meri's empowerment are still frustrated by her decisions. A bitter aftertaste has been left by her seeming refusal to truly stand with the women who helped her during her quietest times of misery. Christine's symbolic gesture from previous episodes, the ring melting story, is a potent illustration of letting go. Viewers saw resonance in Christine's revelation that she had melted down her wedding band and transformed it into something new as a metaphor for change. However, that story resurrected old wounds for Meri. According to reports, she felt deceived by the act itself as well as by the fact that it was public. Furthermore, even though Christine has never made a point of disparaging Meri, that particular incident might have strained their relationship even more. However, Meri's constant readiness to stand up for the one person who has probably caused her the most pain is the most puzzling aspect of her journey. On many instances, the man with whom she formerly shared a home and spiritual bond has downplayed her significance. He has used cruel language to describe her, portraying her as challenging, emotionally draining, and even unlovable. Nevertheless, she keeps up some unwritten promise of safety. Many admirers are confused by this contradiction, by this intense quiet. They ponder what it takes for someone to say enough at last. When will the balance ultimately shift in favor of the truth, no matter who it may offend? Maybe Meri's narrative isn't about making a big announcement. It's about the little changes, the silent insights, and the gradual recovery of one's voice. However, the pressure on her to publicly make that change keeps increasing as the season progresses and more facts become apparent. She stays in the middle for time, being a position she has held for far too long, not quite willing to forgive, not quite ready to condemn. And as her narrative is told, viewers are left feeling both sympathetic and frustrated, hoping that the lady they once supported will have the courage to stand up for herself and no one else. The family that once advocated unity, faith, and a common future has irreparably broken apart. At the heart of it all is a man who was once regarded as the head of a contemporary tribe, but is now dealing with the fallout from decisions made in secret and secrets kept out of sight. The patriarch of the once unified tribe is once again in the spotlight at the 4th edition of the much-awaited reunion special. But this time, what he has to say goes beyond a simple defense of favoritism or an appeal for understanding. What little trust he previously had in individuals he formerly referred to as his life partners is in danger of being burned by this revelation, which stirs the ashes of the past. The longtime head of the Poly home revealed a long-forgotten aspect of his early life before cameras documented their everyday chaos and shared dream, in a part that left viewers reeling and producers in disbelief. The people who knew him the best were shocked when his remarks filled the studio. What started out as an analysis of the complex dynamics of love and a joint marriage evolved into something much more explosive and intimate. The patriarch had traveled a different path prior to his venture into multiple marriage, one that diverged from the moral compass he would subsequently profess to uphold. When he was young, when ideals were still being formed and life was less burdened by expectations, he had what he called a reckless entanglement. The discovery of a covert love affair before the beginning of his spiritual journey with his former wives was shocking, not because he was a saint, but because he had always worn his principles like armor. This admission went right to the core of that meticulously constructed persona. He said the event left an unseen scar, a moment of human frailty that hung over him like a shadow, particularly as he assumed the role of family head and spiritual mentor. The guilt was something he had never really dealt with. It accompanied him on every family get-togethers, joint holidays, and disputes over justice and partiality. He acknowledged that fear, pride, and guilt had prevented him from telling all the women in his life this truth. The rest had been left in the dark, unwittingly constructing a life on partial truths, while only 2 of his companions had been aware. His disclosure had immediate repercussions. One of his ex-partners, who was renowned for her extreme independence and unflinching willingness to defend herself, voiced disappointment, not because of his past actions, but because he had let her believe in an incomplete version of himself for so long. She wasn't the only person to lose hope. While his actions decades ago were not for her to judge, the decision to hide it from them all this time reflected the exact pattern that led to the family's fracture, said another lady whose departure from the family was more recent and still extremely fresh. The lady who had once been his emotional closest companion, the one who frequently took the brunt of criticism from the public for her alleged partiality, appeared visibly upset. In one particularly moving moment, she defended her awareness of the truth by stating that she had always believed that his confession was private and should not be discussed. However, some people didn't believe her defense because they believed she had been complicit in keeping a secret that wasn't really hers. Perhaps the most disturbing response was from a more recent addition to the family's long story, one of the ex-wife's current companion. He had never been afraid to voice his displeasure with the dynamics of the family in the past, and this most recent disclosure appeared to confirm his doubts about the sincerity of the man at the center of it all. Once viewed as an outsider's cynicism, his perspective on plural love suddenly had resonance that even the most devoted admirers couldn't ignore. The family had previously had to deal with difficult realities before this surprise. However, the vulnerability, the dissolution of a long-worn mask was what made this moment unique. The man himself admitted that he had put in a great deal of effort to serve as the moral compass for a home built on unity and faith. However, he had fundamentally failed to live up to those values, and now he had to face the repercussions. This disclosure has repercussions that went beyond interpersonal relationships. Fans of the show who had long been engrossed in the complicated lives of this family responded in a variety of ways on forums and social media. Some viewed it as a step towards transparency and a humanizing moment. Others saw it as just another deceptive strategy meant to divert attention from more serious issues, including the emotional blackmail and partiality that several of his partners had long accused him of. Soon, there was speculation. Was this disclosure really about going clean, or was it an effort to reclaim control of a narrative that was sliding away from him? Many fans couldn't help but notice the timing. He gives a heartfelt monologue that repositions him as a broken, confused man rather than a monster, just as sympathy was starting to shift towards the ladies who had abandoned the life they once enjoyed with him. The return of a symbolic sore point from earlier episodes, the notorious travel item that had come to represent preferential treatment, fueled the flames. Earlier in the show, one of the ex-wives had surprised the audience by explaining the meaning behind this seemingly ordinary object. He always received it even when there were more people in need. This time it emerged in a different setting, when the lady who was most frequently accused of being his favorite acknowledged that she had taken it, not because she was entitled, she said, but because she was unaware of the emotional burden it carried. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Get more updates daily. See you soon.